In this tutorial, we're going to have a look at places where you can eat or buy food, and also at food group nouns, but we're going to start off with the generic word for restaurant. Please note that in Japanese it has no T on the end. Let's have a look. Restaurant, restaurant, restaurant. That's a generic term for restaurants. Generally, you're going to find they're of a Western variety because various Japanese type restaurants tend to have their own individual names, but a coverall is restaurant. Let's have a look what Japanese restaurant look like. The most interesting thing about a Japanese restaurant is that they very often come with a glass cabinet out the front, which is full of this sort of thing. Now it looks like food, but it isn't food. It's actually models of food made out of a kind of plastic. It's extremely useful if you can't speak or read any Japanese because it shows you exactly what you get. And you can see that this restaurant serves traditional Japanese food, a selection of noodles. Up here we've got udon. They're the thick white kind of noodles, and they generally come in this delicious sauce, and they have on top a selection of tasty things to eat. I love this one here with the egg. Then we've got rice dishes under here, and on the right hand side we've got soba, various kinds of soba, and then underneath again we have more selection of Japanese noodles. Down here of course we've got sakana, some fish with some gohan, some rice, some tofu there for a healthy menu, but you can see exactly what you're getting. If we have a look at the prices here, you can see Japanese restaurants are fairly reasonable. Let's have a look at this one up here, and it only costs 500 yen, 500 yen, and that's a little over £3 at the currency rate in August 2013. So you can see it's very, very reasonable. Restaurant. Next we have a convenience store. Convenience stores are everywhere in Japan. There's a number of different kinds, different names. We've got 7-Eleven, Lawson, Family Mart, and various convenience stores, but they are on every street corner. They're open very long hours, and you can buy anything you like in them. Now the full word of course began convenience store, but it's now been reduced down for convenience to konbini. Konbini, a convenience store, and this is what they tend to look like. There we have a konbini. This one's a Lawson. You've got your umbrellas, and you can see from the rainy weather that you need it in Japan. You've got a rubbish bin, a gomibako, and here you've got one of these tremendously useful vending machines, a hanbaiki. Next we have a cafe or a coffee shop, and that's kissaten. Kissaten. Now that's easy to remember because a ten is a shop and kissa sounds like a kissa. Now we generally don't go to coffee shops and cafes to have a kiss, but sometimes the friends we make there could possibly lead to it. So I like to think of it as a kissing shop, not where it actually happens, but where it could lead to something interesting. Kissaten. Now a kissaten is again an overarching generic term, and it includes more traditional Japanese cafes all the way up to things like kohi shop. Now the more modern terms, kohi shop and so on, you can work that out yourself if you see that in katakana, but this is a Japanese word, so you need to learn it. Kissaten, a coffee shop. And this is what a kissaten could possibly look like. Next we have another contraction of a much longer word, and it's a supermarket. In Japanese, supermarket became simply super. Super, and that's a supermarket. And if we have a look at the images for supermarket, they're fairly similar to ours. Here we are. Here's a typical super. The only unusual thing about a Japanese super, apart from the fact that it's all in Japanese and it's full of Japanese stuff, is the size of the shopping baskets. Have a look at the shopping baskets here. Look, they're just little trolleys where you put little hand baskets. Japanese people tend to shop much more often, and they don't tend to buy as much all in one go as we do. Those are the places to eat. Let's have a look at the group nouns now. We've got food and drinks, which are made up of the same grammatical pattern. and that is it begins with the verb to eat in the case of food, tabe. You take the verb stem, tabe, and you simply add the word for thing, which is mono. There are two words for thing in Japanese, mono and koto. Mono is a tangible thing. That's a thing that you can actually touch, whereas koto is an intangible thing. It's something like an idea or a thought. So for actual food that we can touch, we use mono, tabe, mono, food, things we eat. In the case of drinks, we're going to take the stem of the verb to drink, and that is nomi. We're going to add thing, and we get nomi mono, things that you drink. Next, we're going to go again to a word which includes mono, thing, but it's not from a verb, and that's fruit. Kudamono. Kudamono, that's fruit. Next, we have vegetables. Yasai. Yasai. Now, you've learnt the word for cheap, which is yasui. Don't confuse that with vegetables, which are yasai. Although yasai, vegetables, do tend to be yasui, cheap. Vegetables, yasai. Next we have meat over here, and we've learnt that kanji before. That's niku, niku, and you can see that kanji there, if I can just remind you, is a cross-section of a piece of meat. It's like a slab of steak. You can see that it's got those lines there, which are the fat that you see in a cross-section of the piece of meat. Niku. Next we have what's referred to here as Japanese cakes, and that's okashi. But in fact, okashi refers to anything that's sweet and tasty, so that covers everything from chocolate and candy to proper cakes, and also Japanese style confectionery as well. Then we've got fish, sakana, sakana, and there's the kanji there. If you recognize that bit coming down the bottom there is the tail, and then you've got the body there and the head on top. And finally we've got desserts, desato, desato.